Is a dog a man's best friend? I would argue no. Why? Well, best friends, it's a come and go relationship. You can't control a best friend. If I went to my best friend's house, they can't control me. I get to leave when I want. I get to choose on if I want to do an activity with them or not. And that's just not the relationship that you have with your dog, or at least, in this modern society, that's not the relationships that we have with our dog. Our dogs are more like four-legged children. And if we started taking that mindset that our dogs are four-legged children, it would be a lot easier for us to then move into the actual training and the behavior with them, because it feels weird to control a best friend. So if you really have that outlook of like, all right, this is my dog and this is my best friend. So of course, why would I discipline my best friend? And why would I control that best friend? And of course, you'd want everything to be amazing because it's your best friend. So you'd want them to want to do something instead of just doing something because it's insistence, such as like what you would do with children. When I'm like, hey, buddy, with my own human son, I'm like, dude, I need you to take out the trash. He needs to take out the trash. And that's an insistence, right? Like, I'm the father, he's the son. I've told him that I need him to do something. It's not that he wants to do it. I'm not like, hey, do you want to take out the trash? No, it's, hey, buddy, I need you to take out the trash. And so if you look at your dog like a four-legged child instead of your best friend, like this training and this behavioral mindset really does start to make sense. It all starts to come together. So dogs, yeah, 100 years ago they used to be, man's best friend. It really was 100 up until like the entire, like, the evolution from wolf to dog, from hunter to scavenger. It was man's best friend up until about 100 years ago or so, 75 years ago, with the invention of animal control, right? Our industrialized nations, our suburbs, keeping the streets clean, which then leads into why our human children, why our entire generation up until our grandparents, like none of us knew how to interact with dogs, how to interact with canines, because our streets are just clean. We don't have feral dogs running around. In any other country where feral dogs are running around, you learn as a young child from your parents how to interact with canines, and we've missed all of that. Um, but again, that I go off on tangents. The whole thing though about your dog being, your best friend, it used to be, okay. And so up until about 100 years ago, 75 years ago, once we started to create these clean streets, so to say, with animal control, is really when, they stop becoming best friends. Because what dogs used to do, and up in the country and countryside still here in the United States, we do have it where you have these relationships of man's best friend. It's the dogs, they choose to hang out with you and sleep with you and eat with you, and then they leave. Like in the morning you leave for work and they start to walk around the neighborhood, and people aren't freaking out when they see a dog walking around the neighborhood, especially when they go and find their other neighborhood dog friends and they all pack up and they're hanging out in the day and they're having a great time. And then in the evening they decide, after, again, throughout the day though too, they also know which houses they can go to and get a treat and which houses they need to avoid because they'll get shot at. And that's the thing, is they're incredibly intelligent, and they also know that, hey, this is just a kind of a come and go relationship. So of course, even on their end, it's not to be controlled, but they come back to the house and they get to eat some food and they choose to sleep there, and the owners aren't really controlling them and they're not really controlling their dogs. And it's just kind of like this, hey, I'm sharing some food with you, so of course they want to come back, and I'm sharing some affection and some love with you, and so they come back. But that is how it used to be all around until we had fences. And then once fences started creating, suburbs were created, animal control was created, it went from man's best friend to a four-legged child. And if we started taking that responsibility as such, that this is my four-legged child, I do need to teach them what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. I'm not going to let them just bark at people walking past the house, because I would never let my child yell profanity at somebody walking past the house. I'm going to teach them how to interact with our society and with our species. And so it all makes sense again, but how do you do that? I mean, it's a foreign exchange student in your home. So it's a four-legged foreign exchange student, still child, right? That child mindset. So they have a different language, they have a different culture. And so you as the parent, them as the four-legged child, if you take that responsibility of teaching, then you're going to have an awesomely behaved dog, a really well-behaved dog that then has privileges of going places, and not just you locking the dog up in the house when you're taking off, and you can actually take them to the beach and let them off leash and have a great time, or take them to the lake and let them off leash, and while you're packing your lunch, go to your place, and they're going to their place. Same thing with my children when they were younger. Hey guys, I need you over there. Papa's doing this over here. We are giving direction, we're leading, we're teaching them. We're like, hey, I need you to do this, but they're following. We're the rule maker and they're the rule followers. And it makes sense when you start to take that mindset of, okay, I'm the parent to this four-legged child. And I know dog trainers, dog behaviorists hate that. They're like, stop babying your dogs, stop babying your dogs. Yeah, don't treat them like an infant. But in all reality, no, you want to treat them like a four-legged child. Would you allow a human child to do that? No, I'm not going to allow them to yell profanity. No, I wouldn't just, if they were coloring on the walls, and then I would be like, hey, stop. Oh, just ignore that behavior. And then when they stop, give them a bag of Skittles. That's ridiculous. That's super ridiculous. And that's a lot of the way, again, the whole treat training even then goes into, So it's really going like, no, if this was a human child, if they were coloring on the walls, I'm going to go address the behavior, and then I'm going to have a conversation with them that what they just did was super inappropriate and they shouldn't be doing that. And the same thing with my dog. So my dog was doing something inappropriate. It feels right. It feels appropriate for me to now go and go, hey, Bubs, what you're doing, super inappropriate. You need to stop that crap. And that's just because I have the mindset that this is my four-legged child. And so then I feed them like a four-legged child, not just pennies on the dollar with crappy kibble. I actually feed them. They are part of the family. So I'm feeding them well. I'm exercising them well. Mentally and physically, they're being taken care of. But ultimately, they also know who to look to for direction when, there's distractions around. And that's because I've created this mindset of I'm the rule maker, you're the rule follower. And not in a militant way, not a militaristic way. They're not my little soldiers. I have two-legged children, I have four-legged children. I communicate to them very differently because we're different species. So again, my four-legged children are like foreign exchange students. They have a different language, they have a different culture, but ultimately the same rules of the parents make the rules, the children follow, the humans make the rules, the dogs follow. How we communicate that is going to be different because, again, we're a different species. So again, back to is a dog man's best friend? No, they used to be, but they're not. They shouldn't be. If you watch most people, when they invite a guest into their home, they're holding the dog back and they're like, hurry up, get in, hurry up. When they open the front door, come on, while they're holding the dog back. Would you be holding your best friend back, looking for them not to escape? No, that's a hostage situation. Straight up, hostage situations is occurring in most homes. And that's where, if you go, okay, like my dogs, I can open the front door, they run out onto the front porch, they greet people, hey, what's going on? And then they come back into the house because they're stoked to be with me. My kids are stoked to be with me. They've earned privileges. They get to go to the beach and run around off leash. My children get to go to super awesome, nice dinners and go traveling with us because they're awesome kids. So when you're well behaved, you deserve more privileges, and with more privileges life is just, it's opened up for you, and it is more fun. So when you're like, I'm just, I'm not going to, it's my best friend, I'm going to find the comfiest harness for them and only treats. Actually, what happens is you start raising a bratty ass Kardashian. It's not some dog. It's not some, like best friend anymore. It's just become some bratty effing child. And so the proper mindset is huge to this. Is a dog man's best friend? No. Is it your four-legged child? Yes. Do I love my children? Yes. Do I love my dogs? Absolutely. Do I love my best friends? Yes. But do I love my children more than my best friends? Absolutely. Absolutely. I love my children more than my best friends. So when you start to look at that type of, oh, okay, my dog is my four-legged child, also you start having more love, compassion. You're going to be their advocate. You're going to feed them better. You're going to provide for them mentally and physically. You're not just going to be like, it's just my buddy. No, you're going to actually look at it a lot differently. And that's what this is all about. So just some food for thought. All right, y'all.